The Jays. Good way to start on the thing. Because I do. See how long this goes. So interesting. Really, so interesting. I can remember weeks ago, we get to one light, we get like 11. We get to the next light, it's gonna jump up to like 20 something. That don't happen no more. We aren't allowed to talk freely like that anymore. Interesting how it works. Maybe today we'll just look right into Israel. I mean, I just, the whole thing is just, I don't really know what else to do. I don't know what else. I know there are people that are like, hey, talk about the things that other people talk about. And I just think, like, why don't you want to just watch them? You want to see somebody talk about something different, go watch those people. I don't discourage you from watching other people and learning from every source you can learn from. I just don't understand, like what's the point of being the truther character if you're not gonna go all the way with it? If you're gonna only go to the points where you like it, when it starts messing with stuff where you like it, you go, oh no, I don't want to hear about that. You know, the religious side of things is just so strange, and I don't get it. I don't, you know. I mean, I do on like really shitty levels, I guess. Like, you know, at the end of the day, it's because you're a piece of shit. At the end of the day, it's because you don't care. At the end of the day, you know, you're just selfish and you don't give, like, I get that. I don't want to think that way about my brethren. But I'm almost left no choice. Like, I try, you know, I try to give you the platform. Hey, what is it? How do you see it? What do you see differently? Blah, 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 blah. And I don't. I end up not seeing it. Like, it's frustrating. Doesn't everybody want things to get better? The Holocaust denier. Yeah, absolutely. I deny the narrative that your dumbass believes. Thank you for yeah, we know that. You're stupid. You believe what you're told, and you can't debunk any of the things I say, but you're dumb. I mean, I appreciate the example every time it's given. You know, when I point to the fact that you really do have to be stupid to oppose me, and then you're like, look, you have to be this stupid. I appreciate it. You know, the idea that calling someone a Holocaust denier would be an insult. That's how stupid you are. That's how well programmed you are. Like, I'm supposed to go, oh, no. I believe that all those people were killed. It's weird how they've thinking that way. Like again, you know, people that want to believe that the Jays were executed, 6 million Jays were murderized. The people that want to believe that more than anyone else are the Jays. The people that want to believe in slavery more than anything else are black people. It's pretty fucking funny. You'd be in jail in countries for denying it. Yeah, well, guess what? I'm not, you dumbass. And that's a great point. The only time anybody tells you, the only way you get in trouble is because they don't want people thinking that way. If what they were telling you was true and you denied it, then it would be like, no, look it here, this is why and this is why. When they jail you or they tell you you can't talk about something or whatever, it's because it's true. And it's the same, like, you'll just see the same, that same stupidity just loves to repeat itself. You know, this dumb character is the personification, or the bot personification of that stupidity. Thinking that you shouldn't talk about, it's a true event, supposedly. So you have to talk about it. Like, it's just such a stupid thing. It's just like Christians. It's like anything else. Like for me, I believe I'm right. Right? I go against the narrative. I think about, I talk about things that you're not supposed to say. I talk about the people you're not supposed to talk about. And I do all that openly and honestly. And I encourage you to question things, to deny what I'm saying, and tell me, like, when you're telling the truth, that's how you approach the situation. When you're telling the truth, you're not scared of people denying it. You're not scared of people having a conversation. You know, you're confident that even if somebody does deny it, that there's an argument there to debunk what they're saying. But that's what you know, that's because I'm telling the truth. That's what happens when you tell the truth. You're not scared of truth. You're not scared of question. You're not scared of challenge. And anybody that you're a Holocaust denier. Like, I'm not a proud Holocaust denier. I'm proud of it. You say it like it's supposed to be some sort of insult. And I'm like, no, I'm proud to say I'm not that stupid. You know, I don't believe in fairy tales and scary tales. Scary tales. Like, now you have the two trolls that are going to come on here and stroke each other because they both know neither one of them can best me in the argument. So they just start stroking each other's bullshit, because that's what has to happen. This is the machine that we're up against. You know, these bot profiles, these people are here as soon as I go live. They sit around and wait for me because I'm wrong. Even though they can't tell me what I'm wrong about, they still absolutely proud of it. Proud of my anti-Semitism, proud of my anti-Christianity, anti-Muslim, proud to not be dumb hobo. I'm proud to be everything this idiot's not. And when you think about it, when you understand what's going on, the fact that you think you're not supposed to, it's disgusting. That is disgusting. This guy is proud to not give a cult supremacy. He doesn't believe in cult supremacy. How disgusting. How disgusting. You're supposed to believe that cult is supreme. And it's such a fucking idiot. Like, these guys are just so dumb. What a bigot. That's not what bigots are, you stupid ass. Don't use words that you don't understand. Right? I don't oppose anybody for being born a certain way. You know, however you're born, that's okay. But when you choose to associate with cults, Islam, Christianity, especially the J cult, like, there's something wrong with you. You have fucking mental issues. I love how they're trying to use my words against me too. Islam is some of the nicest people you will. This guy said Islam is some of the nicest people you will ever know. Do I even have to point out how stupid this guy is? Islam? You mean Islam Makhachev? Makhachev? Whatever his name is. The UFC fighter? Is that the Islam you're talking about? Like seriously, I appreciate it so much. I appreciate it so much. Oh look, Cam Productions is like, oh, this is the only person's feed I can watch, so now I'm gonna watch it for hours and cry about it. Does this make sense to anyone else? Does this really sound like real people to you, or does this sound like Team Jorge bots? Speaking of imaginary shit, you ever notice how imaginary friends are depicted so similarly in different things? We were watching Dexter's Lab this morning, and Dee Dee has this imaginary friend like Khufu or something, whatever his name is. But it totally reminded me of Bing Bong. And I was thinking about like how many times the imaginary friend has been portrayed in the same way. I wonder where, like, I wonder how that whole thing is documented. Let's see what imaginary friends comes up at. Imaginary friend. Imaginary friends, also known as pretend friends, invisible friends, or made up friends, are a psychological and a social phenomenon where friendship or other interpersonal relationship takes place in the imagination rather than physical reality. I don't know if you've ever seen somebody interact with their imaginary friend, but it sure doesn't seem like it's imaginary. And of course, listen to this. This is going to be interesting. The first studies on imaginary friends are believed to have been conducted during the, what do you think? 1500s, 1600s? When do you think it was?
1800.
1890s. Yep. There is little research about the concept of imaginary friends in children's imaginations. Clausen and Passman, 2007, report that imaginary companions were originally described as being supernatural creatures and spirits that were thought to connect with people through and pass with people. Spirits that were thought to connect with people their past lives. Okay. Adults in history have had entities such as household gods, guardian angels, and muses that functioned as imaginary companions to provide comfort, guidance, and inspiration for creative work. It is possible the phenomenon appeared among children in the mid-19th century when childhood was emphasized as an important time for play and imagination. That seems interesting. In some studies, imaginary friends are defined as children impersonating a specific character imagined by them or objects or toys that are personified. However, some psychologists will define an imaginary friend as a separate created character. Imaginary friends can be people, but they can also take the shape of other characters such as animals or other abstract ideas such as ghosts, monsters, robots, aliens, or angels. These characters can be created at any point during a lifetime, though Western culture suggests they are most acceptable in preschool and school-age children. Most research agrees that girls are more likely than boys to develop imaginary friends. That's interesting. Once children reach school age, boys and girls are equally likely to have an imaginary companion. Research has often reiterated that there is not a specific type of child that creates an imaginary friend. Whenever children have a fantasy that may come true or believe some imaginary world exists in another universe or creates imaginary world for imaginary friends to live. Research has shown that imaginary friends are a normative part of childhood and even adulthood. Additionally, some psychologists suggest that imaginary friends are much like a fictional character created by an author. As Eileen Kennedy Moa points out, adult fiction writers often talk about their character taking on a life of their own, which may be an analogous process to children's invisible friends. In addition, Marjorie Taylor and her colleagues have found that fiction writers are more likely than average to have had imaginary friends as children. There's a difference between the common imaginary friends that many children create and the imaginary voices of psychopathology. Often, when there's a psychological disorder and inner voices are present, they add negativity to the conversation, which is strange. How come whenever somebody talks about the voices inside their head, they're always dicks? Like, why isn't the imaginary voice ever telling somebody the answers to questions, to tests? Like, why doesn't the imaginary voice ever know good shit that the other person doesn't know? Or that the person doesn't know, I mean. Isn't that strange? I don't ever remember hearing that story. I don't ever remember hearing about somebody talking about the imaginary friend that helped them through things, like helped them. I mean, it's one thing when the imaginary friend makes you feel better, helps you through a situation like that. But I'm saying, like, an imaginary friend who knows algebra that you were never taught and you just know, an imaginary friend knows it, but you're like, holy shit, I can do algebra because all I got to do is listen to my imaginary friend. It's literally never happened. It's kind of like how, I hate to say it, but the way my wife believes in things, I'm always like, well, fuck, man. Figure out some lottery numbers. And she goes, oh, well, that's not how it works. And then it's like, well, why not? If the spirits can talk to you and all these other things, they should know that I'm like a really good guy who will fucking change the world, make the world better for as many people as I can. So I need a huge lottery winning influx of cash to make that happen. Help me out. There's not a single spirit out there. There's not a single out of all the people that have ever lived and died. All the different gods and spirits and all that shit that's ever existed. Not one of them is like, hey, that guy that's like, we should kill the pedos. We should help that guy out. Not one spirit like thinks along those lines. Huh? It's interesting how that works. Let's see. The person with the disorder may sometimes believe that the imagined voices are physically real, not an imagined inner dialogue. Which again, how do you do that?
You're crazy.
Right. I mean, other than but like how do you hear shit and not like you've been alive for as long as you've been alive? People don't just hear stuff like that. You pretty much know that if you're hearing voices and shit in your that aren't there, that's probably because it's inside your head. Imaginary friends can serve various functions. Playing with imaginary friends enables children to enact behaviors and events they have not yet experienced. Imaginary play allows children to use their imagination to construct knowledge of the world. In addition, imaginary friends might also fulfill children's innate desire to connect with others before actual play among peers is common. According to psychologist Lev Vygotsky, good old Lev, cultural tools and interaction with people mediate psychological functioning, and cognitive development. Imaginary friends, perceived as real beings, could teach children how to interact with others along with many other social skills. Vygotsky's sociocultural view of childhood development includes the notion of children's zone of proximal development, which is the difference between what children can do with and without help. Imaginary friends can aid children in learning things about the world that they could not learn without help, such as appropriate social behavior, and thus can act as a scaffold for children to achieve slightly above their social capacity. In addition, Imaginary friends also serve as a means for children to experiment with and explore the world. It's like this is written for all the people that are like freaking out because their kid has an imaginary friend and they want to feel better. So they come read this and it's just like, it's okay. It's okay. It's okay. It has been theorized that children with imaginary friends may develop language skills and retain knowledge faster than children without them, which may be because these children get more linguistic practice than their peers as a result of carrying out conversations with their imaginary friends. My aunt used to have an imaginary friend. She was the only one of the kids, and everybody used to talk about it, which was weird. Kuttner reported that 65% of 7-year-old children report that they have had an imaginary companion at some point in their lives. I mean, absolutely. When I was a kid, I was an only child who a lot of the time had to play by myself. But I never had like a continuous like, oh, hey, Steve, you want to play robots with me? Like, I would feel so stupid doing that. Even if nobody was watching me, I would have felt stupid pretending somebody was there with me. I mean, I would pretend there were bad guys or even teammates and go get them, blah, blah, but it was never like a continuous character. Oh, hey, Steve came over to play. Like, he further reported, imaginary friends are an integral part of many children's lives. They provide comfort in times of stress, companionship when they are lonely, someone to boss around when they feel powerless, and someone to blame for the broken lamp in the living room. That sounds crazy. Most important, an imagery companion is a tool young children use to help them make sense of the adult world. Again, how? I mean, I guess it just more proves that we're not all as one size fits all as they try to tell us. Despite some results suggesting children with imaginary friends might be superior in intelligence, it is not true that all intelligent children create them, or that all kids that have them are more intelligent. If imaginary friends can provide assistance to children in developing their social skills, they must function as important roles in the lives of children. I wonder, do African children out in the savannah, do they have imaginary friends and shit? This is
Do they have time to have imaginary friends?
yeah. They don't do a lot. I mean, they do, but they don't. Like, their days are spent making food and shit. The results of the study have provided some significant insight on the roles of imaginary friends. Many of the children reported their imaginary friends being sources of Yeah, okay, I don't care. The article Pretend Play and Positive Psychology, Neutral Companions. Defined many great tools that are seen in children who engage pretend play. I mean, are we saying that there are kids out there that don't play? Imaginary companions in adolescence, sign of deficiency or positive development, explores the extent to which adolescents create imaginary companions. The research has explored the prevalence of imaginary companions in adolescence by investigating the diaries of adolescents aged 12 to 17. Following the popularizing and secularizing of the concept of tulpa in the Western world, these practices calling themselves tupelmancers report an improvement in their personal lives through the practice. Tick interactions, though the practice is considered taboo. A survey of the community with 118 respondents on the explanation of tulpas found that 8.5 support a metaphysical explanation, 76.5 support a neurological or physical explanation or psychological explanation, and 14 other explanations. What the fuck is tulpa? Oh, the Tibetan Buddhism and later traditions of the mysticism and paranormal. Tulpa is a materialized being or thought form, typically a human form that is created through spiritual practice and intense concentration. Modern practitioners calling themselves tulpamancers use the term to refer to a type of willed imaginary friend which practitioners consider to be sentient and relatively independent. Jesus. That's kind of crazy. To uncover the origin of imaginary companions and learn more about the children who create them, it is necessary to seek out children who have created imaginary companions. Unfortunately, young children cannot accurately self-report. Therefore, the most effective way to gather information about children and their imaginary companion is by interviewing the people who spend the most time with them. I end up feeling stupid talking about this, right? Because at the end of the day, this doesn't compare to the fucking the fluoride in the water. This doesn't compare to the genocide, the Israeli genocide taking place right now. It's weird. Saying Israeli genocide can be confusing, right? Because people are like, wait, the Israelis, what's happening to the Israelis? Instead of realizing it's the Israelis that are perpetuating the genocide, are committing the genocide. It's just, I feel stupid. You know, there are plenty of people out there talking about and maybe we can have the imaginary friend discussion when we get a little further with this. But we really do have to get past this Israel stuff first and foremost. Like, we have to do this. I just don't. I don't know. I don't get. What do you think could be more important than that? What do you think is more important? Like, obviously, to me, you know, my kids are more important, blah, blah, blah. But that's who my motivation is in the big picture anyway. It's my kids. Like, it's just crazy to me how people are so, you know, this is a cult. Oh, I met a Jay. He was nice to my face. Of course. Like, you guys are stupid, right? You guys act like I'm talking about this stereotypical monster-looking claw character that's walking around, and yeah, they definitely have a look about them. It's not intimidating by any means, but it's so like there's a lot of Jays that are being just as used as we are. You know, there's a lot of Jays out there that are dumb slaves too. They don't realize it. Jay supremacy doesn't mean all Jays are supreme. I mean, it does to a degree. It means that all Jays are better than non-Jays for sure. But within the Jays, there's a hierarchy. And Jay supremacy means I'm Jay and I'm supreme. That's over everybody, other Jays included. But this is, you know, like, it's like when you talk about white supremacy or white privilege, right? And people are like, I don't get white privilege. I never went and got a free coffee somewhere because there were no people of color around. They say stupid shit like that. But it's like, well, how many times have you gotten pulled over and let go? What do you mean? As soon as they say, what do you mean? They already know. You know, I watched this thing the other day. So this guy who has a moving company, he's known for driving like an asshole in the small town they live in. He has this big white dually truck. And he's known for driving like an asshole And at one point, I guess somebody tried to pass him and he didn't like it, so he hit the gas. The person's car ended up going T-bone in front of him and then flying off the road and narrowly missing a tree. He almost killed some people because he was having some road rage bullshit. And when the footage came out, people all over town were like, "Oh yeah, that's that guy. He's a douchebag." The police then go to his house. Well, the police call him. He lies to police, says he's out up north. He has no idea what's going on, blah, 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 blah. Like, there's this whole story. The police end up showing up at his house again. He's like, no, you have the wrong, he's a total dickhead to police. Like, shit goes down. So then the police show up like a week later with a warrant. And they're like, yeah, they tell him, and he's like, I don't know he's still saying he doesn't really know. And then they're like, all right, well, we're gonna, we have the warrant for your house and everything like that. And did this truck used to have a gold bumper on it? And he was like, oh, well, yeah, it did. And they're like, well, when did you take it off? And he sits there and he pretends like he's thinking. And eventually it all comes out that it was him. He ends up getting like 2 charges of an attempted, bodily, really bad fucking felony charges. Most of the shit ends up getting dropped. And one of the big things is when he's in his garage and the police go to arrest him, he's like, oh, he doesn't want to get arrested in front of his neighbors. He doesn't want to have to go in. Like, it's a power play. If you get everybody in the neighborhood already knows what's going on. So for you to, not be put in handcuffs, that's just part of your own bullshit. But when the cops are like, no, not only do we not, at first they were like, well, we won't cuff him behind his back. They were just, fuck it, we don't even need to cuff him. You're not going to run anywhere, are you? And he got to sit and he wasn't cuffed. And when you understand that is white privilege, the being treated like a human being, a bunch of your charges getting dropped and all that is your white privilege. It only like racist dumb people will say that there's no such thing as white privilege. Like, you just have to be a racist dumbass piece of shit, and it's the same kind of dumbass that has a hard time saying Black Lives Matter. It's that same pre-programmed racism. It's such a funny thing, right? Like, you have a hard time saying, well, no, everybody's lives matter. Blah. That's not, nobody's saying everybody's lives don't matter. It's so strange how hard it is for people to say Black Lives Matter. It's a weird, and it shows you exactly why that slogan was given the power it was given, and it was given it was made famous. We didn't make it famous. See, I think that's just, it comes down to Hollywoodism. It really does. Because people just you guys just don't get it. Like, people would be like, oh yeah, well, what do you think? Like, Kanye should just be allowed to say Kanye. And it's like, well, do you ever ask why you know what Kanye said? Can you tell me about other tweets Kanye's made? Can you tell me about anything Kanye has going on right now? And the answer is always no. You don't know shit. The reason you knew about Kanye and what Kanye said is because the Jays wanted you to. The reason you knew what Kyrie tweeted once, all he did was tweet something. Didn't even have a title on it. It was just a link. There was no title. There was no, hey guys, check this out. Nothing. It was just a link to the video from Hebrew to Negro. And the only reason I know that is because I said, hey, I asked the Google machine, what did Kyrie post that got him in trouble? I would have never known. I don't follow Kyrie Irving or any other basketball player. I don't give a shit. And they say all kinds of stupid shit all the time. I'm sure that if somebody wanted to, they could make a big deal out of it. But you're too dumb to fucking to get it. Like, to understand that's what's happening.
And when I think about my sister and my niece,
you only know about Black Lives Matter because the system saw how angry that made white people, and they ran with it. They pushed it. It's the only reason it made it to be what it was. There are all sorts of Black Lives Matter type slogans that we've never heard of, that the hashtags and whatnot that never went anywhere. But those weren't as divisive. Imagine if they would have said Black Lives Matter too. Because we did. We wrote a song about it. It's a pretty good one. Check it out. It's called Keys to the Kingdom. You know what? Let's do this. This isn't. It's sort of. I don't think reading about it is going to do it the justice, but we can try. All right. So I'll just read it. The desegregation of Boston public schools from 1974 to 1988 was a period in which the Boston public schools were under court control to desegregate through a system of busing students. Because as of 1974 to 1988, I mean, even if you ask the basketball players today, ask LeBron what his least favorite place to play in is. He'll tell you it's Boston. Why? Because they're so fucking racist. The fans just are relentlessly racist there. But apparently, we're all led to believe that the South was the racist place and that the North is the safe haven, right? So why would there even need to be a desegregation program for the Boston school systems as late as 1988? Let's see. Now, again, if you aren't racist, if you're a white person who isn't racist, this kind of shit bugs you. You hate this kind of shit. You don't deny it. The people that deny it or try to tell you not to talk about it or try not to make a deal of it, those are the people that are racist. I'm not racist, but geez, come on. Now, I'm not racist, but the call for desegregation and the first years of its implementation led to a series of racial protests and riots that brought national attention, particularly from 74 to 76. Now, I'm sure it's because the black people were rioting, right? Is that what it was? In response to the Massachusetts legislature's enactment of the 1965 Racial Imbalance Act, which, again, like white privilege is you not understanding that the 1965 Racial Imbalance Act needed to be made. Because until that was happening, until it was made illegal for white people to segregate and fuck's the word I'm looking for? Not just segregate, but black people, white people are allowed to. The word is just missing my mind.
Oh my gosh.
Whatever. Yeah. Violate black people in that way. In response to Racial Imbalance Act, which ordered the state's public schools to desegregate. because Massachusetts, all the way up in the north, in 1974 had to be court mandated to desegregate. And it wasn't because the black people didn't want the white people in their schools. And it's funny too, the reason why they did all this is because they didn't want to have to sink money into the black schools. They just wanted to be, they were like, you know what, instead of like putting money into all these black schools and making them just as good as the white schools, let's just bring the black kids in. W. Arthur Garrity Jr. of the United States District Court for the District of Massachusetts. Isn't that weird? Why is it called the District of Massachusetts?
I mean,
laid out a plan for compulsory busing of students between predominantly white and black areas of the city. The hard control of the desegregation plan lasted for over a decade. For over a decade, it was resisted. See, there's a thing called Keys to the Kingdom. It was a PBS-made documentary. Maybe it's Ken Burns at his finest. But one of the parts of the Keys to the Kingdom is when they dropped the bomb on the Philadelphia neighborhood, right? They did that on that group of black people. Another one is about this. And there's tons of footage that shows when the white kids had to go into the black areas, they were met by like student council groups. You know, there was no resistance. There was no aggression towards them. You know, they were led by their hand to their, hey, if you need anything, you know, it was like, be as nice and accommodating to these crackers as you possibly can.
it's crackers, he says.
And then on the other side, you see white adults throwing rocks and shit at school buses because along like the entire route that the bus took, the white people came out and protested and would throw shit at the bus, and adults acting like this because black kids are being sent to school with their white kids. It's pretty fucking shocking. And there's footage of it. So you can't be like racism and that kind of attitude is just inherent because black people weren't like that. Black people welcomed in and helped out the oppressor's kids. It's kind of like how you know the Israel-Palestine thing is going. Where like, you know, Israel attacks a place. Like in all of 2023, Israel had killed 273 people so far that year. Prior to October 7th. 273 people, you know, at least like 60 or something were children. Like every night doing these nightly raids, yada, yada, yada. Just the constant attack. It's just a constant form of attack. And usually when they do that, it'll be like 273 people killed, and then another 125 people were killed during this excursion. Like, they don't include all of the different murders together. They like separate them so they don't sound as gruesome. But all Israel does is attack, and they'll say, oh, that was a preemptive strike, or, you know, that was a calculated... we were taking out their ability to attack us or some kind of bullshit, you know. But as soon as supposedly Hamas decides to fight back, which again, it didn't happen. No Israelis were killed on October 7th. No Israelis were taken hostage. As soon as Hamas decides to fight back, there's worldwide condemnation. How dare anybody ever attack back? How dare anybody attack Israel? Like it's insane how obviously fucked up this all is. And how they just keep, they keep it going. How they keep us hating each other, fighting each other, over most of the time it's over shit we can't do anything about. Like anybody that thinks that people like effeminate, weaker, smaller, frailer looking men are like, hey, my life just isn't hard enough. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go gay because that'll make things better. Like that just doesn't make any sense. Nobody's choosing to be gay. And yet there's all this incredible distraction and hatred towards these people for being who they are, born. Like you either want dicks in your mouth or you don't. That's either that's an either or. And like, and then at the same time we have to accommodate these cults that people choose to believe. Or they'll say, well, I was born into it. But at any point, you could choose not to be a part of it anymore. We must protect our white cause at all costs. Our white? Like, there's nothing dumber than the white people that fall for the idea that white people are somehow in danger. It's so embarrassing how stupid they have us. How can you be that stupid? The only white people that are in danger are the shitty ones. But it's just strange how, like, white people act, this is our country, and it's just so stupid. It's amazing, man. It's amazing how they've literally, like, they've tricked you into believing that, like, American freedom and independence and all this stuff, you're American, this is the best place in the world, the land of the free, the blah, 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 that we slaughtered a whole bunch of people to obtain. Yay. We didn't let those people have any sort of freedom, no. But come on, we let them have really shitty plots of land, and we pour casinos and alcohol in there. Like, it's just fucking stupid, man. It's stupid. Truth against the J. You are correct. They are awful. But it has nothing to do with stupid salutes and anything else other than Goyim unity. There's nothing about it that I like. All the rest of it is stupid. White, this, that, and the other thing. Civic pride and racial pride are the dumbest things that they push on us. And at the same time, it's understandable. Like, you can understand why people of color, brown pride and shit like that, why that exists when you just look at how white people are. White people have been made into the worst of the worst. They're just awful and entitled and just, it's really a horrible, the redneck persona, the dumb redneck being this popular thing, or the Jersey persona. Like the way that they, of course, like, if you're somebody that ends up watching fake fucking Jersey Shore, and you see these idiots who are given carte blanche to do what they want, they don't get in trouble. They're famous. If you were to hire a camera crew to just follow you around, and you put like MTV on the sticker or on the camera or some shit, you'd be famous before you knew it. People would fall for that shit. And it's you know, it's one of these things where we have to ask ourselves, why are we so infatuated with these kinds of experiences? And it's basically the carrot on the stick. You know, everybody's life is really difficult, really hard to do, and they use that stick to not only dangle the carrot but beat us with it. Here, let's try a reset. If it doesn't work, then shit, I'll be done. I'm good. Pedophiles, kill yourself.